Hello, my young readers, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are enjoying your summer. I just had a wonderful vacation, and now we are ready to get back at it with a great story. This story is filled with excitement, with some adventure. So sit back, relax, make sure you got your popcorn ready, and stay tuned. The name of this story is called The Mighty Thor, an origin story, and this is part of the Marvel world. Enjoy. What would it be like to live among legends, to be something more than human, to hold great power in your hands and know how to use it, to be feared, to be brave, to be honored, to be mighty? Some are born with these qualities, and some spend their lives working to obtain them. This is a story about someone who was born into royalty, but needed to earn his honor. This is a story about a hero. Name Thor. Thor's realm was called Asgard. It sat like an island whose shores were swept by the sea of space. The people who lived on Asgard were called Asgardians, and the Asgardians called our world Midgard. The only way to reach our world from theirs was by the Rainbow Bridge Bifrost. The bridge was guarded by the sentry called Heimdall. Even though Asgard was well protected, threats were endless. Thor was one of the land's greatest protectors. He was also a prince. He lived with his brother Loki in the castle of their father, Odin. Thor was arrogant and chose his friends for their loyalty: the brave warrior Balder, and a band of soldiers called the Warriors Three: Fandral, Volstagg, and Hogun, and the beautiful, strong, and wise Lady Sif. Thor's father, Odin, ruled over all of Asgard. He and his wife Frigga wanted nothing more than for their sons to grow up to be worthy rulers. But there could only be one supreme ruler of Asgard. Only one could be like Odin. And even though Loki was thoughtful, clever, and quick, Thor was firstborn, and so the throne was his by right. To determine when Thor would be ready to rule, Odin had a special hammer made. It was forged from a mythical metal called Uru, which came from the heart of a dying star. The hammer was named Mjolnir, and it held great power. No one would be able to lift the hammer unless he or she was worthy. The hammer was immovable to Thor. Still, Odin's actions made it clear. The hammer was meant for his firstborn son and no one else. Even so, proving worthy of Mjolnir was not an easy task. Thor spent nearly every moment trying to earn his right to hold the hammer. He performed amazing acts of bravery. He was honored for acts of nobility. And he demonstrated feats of great strength and honor. With every great achievement, Thor attempted once more to pick up Mjolnir. It seemed as if he would never raise the hammer more than a few inches from the ground. And then, one day, he did. Thor had proven himself worthy of his weapon, and he used it well. When he threw the hammer, it always returned to him. When he twirled it by its handle, he could soar like a winged beast. And when he stamped it twice upon the ground, he could summon all the power of lightning, rain, and thunder. In fact, with his hammer in hand, there was little Thor could not do. And he knew it. Odin wanted him to be a great warrior, and he had become one. His father wanted him to earn the respect of Asgard. He had it. But then Thor began to let the power go to his head, and Odin was not happy. In fact, he had grown quite angry with his son. Odin called Thor to his throne room. Thor knew that something was wrong. His father rarely summoned him in such a harsh tone. Thor was sure that his jealous brother Loki had spun some lie to get him into trouble. But nothing could have been further from Thor's mind than what Odin had to say to him. Odin told Thor that he was his favorite son. He told him he was brave beyond compare and noble as a prince must be. He told him that his strength was legendary and that he was the best warrior in the kingdom. But Thor did not know what it meant to be weak or to feel pain. And without knowing humility, Thor could never be a truly honorable warrior. Odin was angry. In his rage, he tore Mjolnir from Thor's hand and threw it toward Midgard. Then he stripped Thor of his armor and sent him to Earth. Odin made his son believe that he was a medical student with an injured leg named Don Blake. As Blake, Thor learned to study hard. At times, he thought he might fail, but he worked harder than he ever did in Asgard, and in the end, he earned his degree. He allowed others to help him with his injury. In doing so, he discovered that people were generally good. Thor learned to truly love humanity. As a surgeon, he treated the sick. He helped weak people find their strengths. And one day, while vacationing in Norway, Don Blake found himself trapped in a cave. The only possible exit lay behind a boulder. He found a staff on the ground and shoved it under the boulder. He tried with all his might to move the rock. He pushed and pushed. Nothing. He was so angry that he took the staff and struck it on the ground. And that's when it became clear that it was no ordinary stick. It was Mjolnir in disguise. Odin had sent Dawn to this cave. Odin, the All-Father of Asgard, was pleased. His son had learned humility. He had at long last become a complete hero. He had become human in spirit, but still, now and forever, he was the mighty Thor. Well, that ends our story. And it also ends on a very high note for Thor.
It sure does, because I was right there with his father in his decision for him to throw him down into Midgard.
I'm just curious. Why do you say that?
Well, because I agree with his father about his arrogance. And the power just made the arrogance, I think, worse. And his father probably saw where it was going to get even worse. Now, when the story first begins, it talks about how Thor was arrogant and how he chose his friends due to their loyalty to him.
And you know what? I see your point. Because he had, a lot of help with his arrogance because he had something called firstborn privilege.
Now, see, you about to get me started.
I'm sorry. I was just pointing out some facts.
And see, the thing about it is, I feel sorry for his brother Loki. I know in most stories, Loki has a bad reputation. But if you also notice when you look at this story, Loki is right there with Thor. He's in the background, he's in the shadow, but he's there.
I saw that. Unfortunately, the rules that they have for firstborns, it's like they get first pick of everything. And I don't think it's fair. If there are more than one sibling, I think whatever test you have, whatever, they all should have the same privilege to test for it, for whatever it is, a throne, a power, whatever. Give them all the same opportunity and may the best sibling win.
And you know what? I'm right there with you. And then the father, Odin, introduced a whole new player to the whole makeup. The hammer. The hammer got to choose the worthiness of who handles it. Wow.
You ready for me to blow your mind?
Go for it.
Check this out. What if in today's world, right now in our reality, yours and mine,
Gotcha.
that all weapons, guns, arrows, whatever, got to choose the worthiness of who handles it.
Oh, wow. Poof. Mind blown.
I told you. Now, check this out. Odin had to correct the problem with his son's arrogance because I think he knew he contributed to it by, subscribing to first come, first serve, firstborn. So, to correct it, he sends him to Midgard, which is Earth, and takes away his memory of being Thor and all the feats he's done and can do, and just has him go in as a native, a medical student with an injured leg, and he named him, or let him assume the name, Don Blake.
Well, the lesson here would be that arrogance can change a hero into a zero real fast. And in the case of Thor, his father saw that about to happen, so he stepped in and he kind of changed the direction. And I think he was successful. Well, little darling, we've come to that time where parting is such sweet sorrow, but I have got to go, and I will see all of you all in the next video. Bye!
Well, there goes Miss Triangel. And as you probably could tell by our lively conversation, that we enjoyed this story, and I'm hoping that you guys did as well. Now, I told you in the beginning that this story was going to be filled with adventure and filled with excitement, but I'm also hoping that you got a takeaway out of it. And that takeaway is, of course, arrogance. So till next time, my young readers, I am your little darling narrator out.